Hey, Mark.
Hey, Bart.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good.
You know, you have a lot of great stuff here, but guess what? I have great stuff.
Whoa.
Yes. Look, I'm going to share my great stuff. I have a bobblehead of Ichiro commemorating his 262nd hit at Safeco Field back in the day. I was actually at the game. It was really exciting. And then later they had a promotion with Ichiro bobblehead. Even though it looks a little more like TV host and ex-Saved by the Bell alum Mario Lopez. So I just thought I'd share that. I don't usually get bobbleheads. Usually they're a little too kitschy for me these days. Like Hans Seego, really? I mean, come on. But anyway, I really love this one. It's the only one I own, and I bet you don't have anything like this, do you? I bet you don't have bobbleheads like this, do you?
Maybe a couple.
Oh, shit.
Well, I don't have anything that compares to Mario Lopez.
Anyway, today's episode, Bobbleheads. So, bobbleheads, you have so many cool ones. I look forward to seeing them. This is going to be very fun. When, where, why bobbleheads?
Well, they actually date back to ancient China. There's evidence of bobbleheads being made in the 1700s.
They had baseball in China in the 1700s?
Well, they weren't baseball related. They were probably kings and queens and princesses and mythical figures and things like that.
And they put them on a spring like bobbleheads?
They were on a spring. The head or the body would bobble up and down.
Crazy.
And it's crazy to think that they date back that far.
Yeah, well, actually, I remember our tobacco episode. He wasn't a bobblehead, but he was on springs.
Yeah, his legs were springs, and
Right.
his body bobbled up and down.
That'd be one of the first baseball bobbly things,
This
right?
might be the first known baseball bobblehead, if
Right.
you want to take it that way. Now, bobblehead is an interesting term. Believe it or not, there are aficionados who collect these things, and they're very serious about it. It seems like kind of a whimsical segment,
Yeah.
but they get mad if you call them bobbleheads. They
Oh.
will say, the proper term is bobbing head doll, not bobblehead. To me, it's a bobblehead. They also can be called knotters, but the correct term is bobbing head doll.
Wow, bobbing head doll. So when did they really become popular in baseball?
That's a good question. 1960 is the magical year that they first came into the baseball stadiums. And eventually they were marketed in stores and department stores and toy stores.
Oh, really? They were sold in stores?
Yeah,
I always just pictured bobbing head dolls. I've always just thought that they were just giveaways at stadiums, but no, huh?
They were almost giveaways. They actually cost $1 back in the day. That was the retail price, was $1.
And they were for sale in stores.
And they're really the quintessential baseball souvenir, maybe behind pennants. I think pennants would be number one. Bobbleheads would be number two.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, pennants have been around forever, right? And that's kind of what you started collecting, right?
Yeah, that's how I started. Bobbleheads, I started early too. I've had this collection for quite a while. It has evolved a little bit, but I'll tell you, these things are super fragile, and there's no more condition-sensitive segment of the hobby than bobblehead dolls.
Really?
Oh yeah, if a tiny hairline crack or a little chip under the rim is evident, it can cut the value of the doll in half.
Really? So that really counts that they have to be in pristine condition.
Yeah, condition is everything with these guys.
Well, can we take a look at some?
Let's do it.
All right. Bobbleheads, here we come.
All right.
So you said these originated in 1960?
This very first set ever made was what they call the colored base set, and it was around from 1960 to 62. Now I've only got 3 from the very first colored base set. The reds on the extreme left, that's a tough doll to find. Then the Pirates with the gold base is much more prevalent. He's from that same early set. He's a cool doll. He's one of my favorites. And then the Orioles, front and center, is from that set as well.
So great looking. Look at that.
Yeah, that Orioles is just a killer doll. He got the more diamond-shaped base. He's an oldie, but they're all in great condition, and they all are vibrant and have their original gloss, which is kind of cool.
So much character and so colorful and bright. So the first ones, they weren't really based on the players, right? They were more like a team.
There were mascot heads, as evidenced by the Pirates and the Orioles, but the little boy heads were much more prevalent, and the very first Reds doll came out in 1960, and it's the little boy version. And it's the only one with the little boy head, as all subsequent Reds knotters have the baseball head that we all know and love.
He's so cute.
He is a cutie. He took me a while to find. He's a tough little guy to find in good condition. For some reason, when he comes available, he's always cracked.
And his base is red. Does that mean anything?
I think it's just they thought that color base would go well with the doll. Since the brim of his cap and his sleeves are red, it makes a nice match. One thing you'll notice about these early guys is that the name on the chest is embossed. It's three-dimensional, and then they would hand paint each of the letters. To think that they did all this work to create these things for $1 retail.
No kidding. And where were these made?
These were all made in Japan. Everything you're going to see today is made in Japan.
Awesome. And Mr. Met with the hat.
Mr. Met and Lady Met are different. They're not true bobbleheads. Their heads do swivel, but they don't bobble up and down. They're from a completely different series, and they were only sold, I believe, at Shea Stadium. So those are rare, but they go so well with bobbleheads that they're often sold in bobblehead auctions, and they're referred to as bobbleheads, even though they're technically not. Now, if you look at Lady Met there, she's holding her pennant. That thing is almost always missing. As you can imagine, these were made for kids, and how often did the kid play with it, or damage it, or lose the cap on her head, or lose the pennant especially? So that little pennant on the stick is original. I've seen reproductions made because they're so often missing. Mr. Met and Lady Met, both very popular with Mets collectors.
I'll bet.
And bobblehead collectors in general. They're just so cool. How could you not like them?
I know, they're so fun.
Does anything capture the 60s better than that?
No kidding. So these are from 1960 as well?
Mid-60s.
Right. And then the pirate is classic pirate.
Classic pirate. They stuck with that guy throughout, all the way into the 70s. With his eye patch. He changed very little.
The scar on his chin and the growl.
Yeah, the scowling face and the scar.
And the Oriole, it's a happy looking bird.
Yeah, same thing with the Oriole. They didn't change him much through the years. He retained that great look with the wide open blue eyes and the kind of happy face. Very cool mascot.
And then you got the old school Mr. Red.
Yeah, he's a one-off. He does have a green square base, but he's not from the classic green base series. I actually like him a lot. The detail is fantastic.
I'll say.
And that's a fine example. That's probably the best example I've ever seen of that particular doll. You can see they got the blush on his cheeks even.
That's like the early, original Cincinnati Reds first baseball team ever, right?
The Reds took great pride in being the first ever professional baseball team. And to kind of commemorate that, they gave him the handlebar mustache and the old pillbox hat.
Yeah.
And they really glorify him in old-fashioned ways. Amazing tradition and rich history.
He's super cute too. So is he the exact same face as the other?
You know what? He is also from the first series. Yeah, that angel is from the first series as well. You can see that his base is just like the Reds, but blue to match his cap and sleeves, just like the Reds matches his cap and sleeves. So I actually have 4 from that first ever series. The Oriole's actually nodding for you right now.
He agrees.
He's saying yes. The angel is part of this series. Don't forget him.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, I've got the Angels, Pirates, Orioles, and Reds from the very first series, which was 60 to 62. One other little nice touch that I just noticed about the Angels is they even painted the silver halo atop his cap like the real team had.
Oh, you're right.
The attention to detail is just off the charts on these things.
They're so fun. It's so colorful. And the condition is just ridiculous. It's so great.
Yeah, that's one thing. I am a stickler for condition, and I held out a long time before I bought every single one of these.
Well, it was worth it. So what's next?
Well, if we follow the proper sequence chronologically, we're going to pan all the way up to the top shelf.
Oh, wow. Look at, there they are.
Yeah.
Whoa, look at these guys. Wow. So they're actual players this time, not just the teams.
Yeah, and the likenesses are actually pretty good. Now, if you put yourself in the 1961 time frame, you had the Yankees playing the Reds in the World Series. And that's the year that Maris broke Babe Ruth's record for home runs in a season.
All right.
Mantle was at his peak. And then you had Willie Mays and Roberto Clemente, kind of in their peak years as well. So what better players to portray than those great superstar players of the golden era?
No kidding. So you got Mickey Mantle, and then we come over on the other side, bookended by Roger Maris.
Right. Mantle and Maris were the two Yankees depicted.
Right, so then in the front, who's that?
Those are extremely rare, much rarer than the full-size versions. Those are
Really?
the minis. Maris on the left and Mantle on the right.
How fun, yeah.
Yeah, and the detail, for being mini bobbleheads, the detail is pretty amazing. And these are just survivors. They didn't make as many of the minis. They are tough to find, and they've kind of gone up in price accordingly.
And so they're on these white bases, right? All of them.
Right, and then you've got Willie Mays, second from the left. The back middle, you've got Mickey Mantle, and it's a special version. They call it the muscles version because he's kind of flexing his muscles.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And he's on a round base instead of a square base. That version came out a little later, probably closer to 63 or 64.
That is so funny. I love that, the muscles.
Now next to the Mick in the back row, we have the best one of all, Roberto Clemente.
My favorite player of all time.
He was fantastic, but as far as bobbleheads go, that one is the rarest of the big ones. Even rarer than the two minis, I think.
What makes him so rare?
Well, Pittsburgh wasn't as big a market,
Right.
and New York, of course, was the key market for them. San Francisco, you know, Willie Mays was popular player, both in San Francisco and still in New York, having come from the New York Giants. So Clemente wasn't as established as a star player back then either.
So yeah, you couldn't get more popular players than what you have here, right? Is there any significance to the bases being round or square?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right, and they got their signatures on the bottom.
The signatures are on the bottom. Those are decals. You can see that sometimes the decal would get a little bit brown from age wear.
Oh, okay, so that's aging. I thought maybe it's like some kind of gold embossment or something.
No, it's just aging of the decal. You can see that the Willie Mays kind of kept its look the best.
Oh wow, so that's from aging.
Now, yeah, the decals are very fragile. They were just applied with water and they're as thin as they could be. So oftentimes the decals would get scraped off. So sometimes you see restoration attempts where somebody would take a pen to fill out the signature where it was missing. To me, that's an instant deal killer, but you do see it frequently. You know, these are all original. There's no restoration on any of these dolls, which is getting tougher and tougher to find because they're so condition sensitive. And let's face it, they were marketed to kids.
Right.
And kids don't take care of stuff. They're going to bob the head up and down as hard as they can, and they're going to use it as an action figure. And it's a miracle that any survived in the condition that these are in.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's pan down one shelf and we'll keep it with this series. These are still white-based dolls. And you can see that I like the mascot heads.
Yeah, the mascots. Oh, how fun.
These are the guys that I love, more so than the little boy heads. But the cardinal in the back left,
Yeah, look at that cardinal.
look at the feathers that go all the way around the back of the head. The yellow beak, the white outlining his eyes.
Boy, he's got quite the look, huh?
He's got a lot of character. He's a confident guy.
Yeah, he's got a ball. He's getting ready to do something.
Now, I put him right next to the Cubby Bear from the same series. The Cubs is a little more common, a little easier to find than the Cardinal, but he's just the cutest little guy you've ever seen.
No
Have you ever
kidding.
seen a happier face than that?
And those colors are so beautiful, the blue and the red.
Yeah, the colors are off the charts. It's hard to believe that the Cardinals and Cubs have a vicious rivalry the way they do, because they look
Yeah.
like pretty good friends there, don't they?
You know, it looks like the cardinal might take care of business, though. And the Brave, which I should mention at that time was Milwaukee, right?
Milwaukee Brave, right? We're talking the early 60s. Look at the way the face is painted. How many shades of tan and brown are there? It's just insane how much pride they took
No
in this thing.
kidding. For, minimal price. You would
Yeah,
think these
for
would be
$1. $1 retail, meaning the markup was already there.
$1.
But again, you have the embossed Braves on the uniform. That's a really clean doll.
And he's a punk rocker, too.
Yeah, I like the mohawk. He was ahead of his time, that's for sure.
Awesome. And then my Tigers. Oh, look, he's so cute.
Yeah, he's really cool. I love the green eyes. I can see a little slyness to him.
Yeah, and those airbrush stripes.
Yeah, similar to the Braves' face. It's great workmanship.
And then, of course, we got
The Orioles, which is very similar to the one that we showed you earlier.
Yeah, he's great. And then we come down, and these guys are smaller, right?
These are the minis. They were done at the same time. They're part of the same series, but they're miniatures. They're about half the size.
Just when you thought they couldn't get cuter, they got cuter.
Yeah, they're just amazing.
So we got the Houston Colts.
The Colt 45s.
And even though he looks like a Frisch's Big Boy, he looks like a hamburger Big Boy kind of, doesn't he?
He looks just like that. Yeah, but it's kind of cool. He's got the cowboy hat. So I
Right.
consider him a mascot doll, even though he's got the little boy head.
Oh,
and you can see the Colt insignia on his
Yeah,
hat.
you got the 245s.
Yeah, just an awesome, awesome little bobblehead. Then next to him, you have the Cardinal, who's every bit as spectacular as the big guy.
Yeah.
Look at the expression on his face and the detail there.
He's about 20% less angry as that guy.
Yeah, he's a tough one to find. That Cardinal is a toughie.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And then probably my favorite is the Chicago Cub. If you zoom in on the face, they captured the fur, the strands of fur, kind of a grainy look to his face.
Yeah.
For this silly little souvenir doll. It's just crazy the work that went into these. Then you got my favorite of all time, Mr. Red.
Of course.
Captures the old-time nature of the Cincinnati Reds. Then the classic Pirate next to him.
Pittsburgh. Oh, Pitts and Berg.
Yeah, that's one sign. Sometimes these are forged, or sometimes their decals are replaced, and they get that part wrong. The authentic doll have the space between Pitts and Berg.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's a way to show authenticity.
Yep, it sure is. And sometimes the forgers kind of blow that one.
Right. And then Chief Wahoo.
There he is, Chief Wahoo in all his glory. Long defunct Chief Wahoo showing off his choppers.
Yeah.
He's got a good set of teeth.
And he's got a little feather in his headband.
Yeah. Immensely popular. The Indians used him just the way the Reds used Mr. Red with the
Right.
baseball head.
I love the mascots. So what's next?
We're going to do more from this series just because we have it.
Where are those?
One shelf down.
One shelf down.
We've got the minis combined with the bigger guys. There are two green base ones in there, which I'll explain later. But the majority of these are from that same series, 61 to 63, with the white base.
So fun. So if we start over here, we got our tiger again with the green eyes.
Yeah, we got the mini version of the tiger.
Right.
Looking very much like his bigger brother.
Right. And then behind him, who's that? It looks like one of the Cosby kids.
That is my only blackface nodder.
Wow.
That is the Washington Senators, who is pretty appropriate because they had a large African American fan base.
Right.
And it's one of the more popular blackface dolls.
Oh, it's
There's
beautiful.
two versions of the blackface dolls. There's the happy face and the realistic face. This one is the realistic face nodder. Very difficult to find in good condition and unrestored. There's a ton of restoration that's gone on with these blackface dolls, and it's so hard to find them all originals. I wish I had more in the series, but at least I've got one to
Right.
represent the series, and it is a beauty.
It is really beautiful. So you said there's a significance to the green base, like we have here with Houston, too?
Yeah, the green base was actually the next series after the white base. Just because of shelving restraints, I had to combine them on this one shelf. But the other green base guy there is the Houston Colt 45.
Right.
And he's a very cool looking doll with his cowboy hat and his silver pistol.
And his little cowlick.
Yeah, the silver pistol is significant because you'll notice that all of these bobbleheads either were posed with holding a baseball or a bat.
Right.
And he's like the only guy that has a variation in the theme. He's holding his gun, which is really cool because it's a Colt 45, obviously.
Then you come over to the Dodger. Look at his hat. What's the deal with his hat?
They did different versions of the little boy head. One of them has the sideways hat. It's my favorite version, but I like the smile on this guy. You know who he reminds me of? You ever watch Davy and Goliath when you were a kid?
Hey, Davy.
He was looking a lot like Davy.
He does.
Which brings back a better, more innocent time in life. Pure innocence and goodness.
Exactly. And then we come back here and whoa, there he is, only in San Francisco.
Yeah, there's two versions of the Willie Mays. There's the light face and the dark face version.
So the one we saw before was a little lighter, right?
Yeah, I think that was the light face and this one's the dark face. Really, they're just different tones. I don't know if that one is lighter or darker. So if you happen to know, put something in the comments if I need to be corrected on that, because that's always been a mystery to me, is which one is the light and which is the dark.
I love the San Francisco helmet. And then we got Wahoo again.
Yeah, this is a different one. This is a green base mini of Chief Wahoo. The other one was white base. That's really the only difference. He looks a little mischievous, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then we got a little cherubic angel again.
Yeah, we got the Los Angeles Angel. They weren't yet the California Angels.
Right.
So that's the Los Angeles Angel.
Of course, you had to put front and center Mr. Red again.
Mr. Red, now this one's slightly different than the one you saw. The other one had very small lettering on the base that said Cincinnati. This one has the big giant letters that say Cincinnati. So of course I had to have both variations. There is actually a third variation of the Reds Mini, and it's the rarest by far. He's wearing a vest. See how this guy has the full sleeves?
Right.
There's a Mr. Red with
yeah.
a vest, and man,
Ted Kluszewski vest.
yeah, like the Ted Kluszewski vest, which was their uniform at the time. It was very popular. Only a few got manufactured that way, and I'm still looking for one. If anybody out there has one, write to me.
Awesome. So speaking of the green bases, I see this shelf has all green bases.
Yeah, that Houston Colt 45s was part of this set. I just didn't have room for them on this shelf.
Right. Well, let's just go left to right. We got Wahoo again, but he looks totally different. You can see his choppers a little better there.
He didn't change much through the years. I don't know if that's eye makeup or why those black eyes, if that's just...
That was his goth period.
Yeah, now the feather, any part of these, like the mohawk on the Brave right next to him, the corners get dinged so easily. A lot of times you got to look closely to make sure that the tip of his feather or the corner of the Brave's mohawk isn't touched up with touch-up paint. And you know how you can tell the difference if it's not visible to the naked eye is you put a black light on it. And the black light will show where the touch-up occurred because the paint is newer.
Interesting.
Yeah, the old paints did not fluoresce under a black light, whereas the newer touch-up paints certainly did.
That's really interesting. You could see how easily that feather could get chipped.
Oh yeah, it just took nothing to chip it. Nothing at all.
How's it going there, Brave? Look at that.
Yeah, this set was made from 63 to 66. All of them had the same kind of green base. Sometimes the base was square, sometimes the base was circular, and sometimes it was diamond shaped, like the Oriole right there, front and center.
Love him. And then we got our cute green-eyed tiger.
Now this green base set, which came to be in 1963, is very interesting because they started using decals on the chest. The decal was cheaper. I'm sure it would cost them a lot less to manufacture it, but it would scrape off. So that's the common flaw that you see most often, especially with the Cubs. I was very happy to find this Cubs because the circular Cubs decal on his chest was notorious for splitting.
That Cubs decal's in great condition.
Yeah, but
Well, these are just, they're so bold, and again, the colors and the condition, too fun. The green base set.
that's the green base set, 1963 to 66.
Okay, so we're moving in to the mid-60s,
Yeah, and we got one more set to show you.
and I'm guessing it's right here. Look at them.
Excellent guess. That's it, the gold base series.
So we got the Cardinal again, and the Cubby. He's got a little bigger neck there, doesn't he?
Yeah, they changed that part a little bit.
Yeah, he looks almost like a mouse.
Yeah, the workmanship and the paint is cheaper too. The paint was more prone to chip off. It's called that chippy paint. These were a little bit cheaper made. This is the most recent of the vintage sets. Yeah, there's a good example of the Cub decal splitting. You can see that. It's very common with that decal for some reason. But these dolls with the gold base are a little cheaper. You can see the Brave on the extreme right. Doesn't quite have the detail in the face.
Looks like he just took a gummy.
Now,
And that pirate doesn't look menacing at all.
he got a little friendlier. He got a little more sterile through the years.
Right. And now wait a second. Seattle Pilots?
Well, you just focused on the highlight of the set.
I'll say, look at him.
They only existed 1 year, of course,
Right.
1969. So that doll is a 1-year doll. As a result, it's the rarest one in the set and the best one in the set. There are 2 versions of it. There's this, I call this one the normal version. Then there's also a little boy head where he has the kind of the cowlick in his hair. And,
Right.
And this is the more clean-cut version. Also unique about this one is they put the pilot's logo between his feet there on the gold base. They treated that one a little bit differently. So 1 year, single-year franchise, Seattle Pilots, very rare.
Well, man, as bobbleheads go, I think we just went to bobblehead heaven. And could they be more charming?
They're fantastic. And again, condition is everything with these guys. I know I keep saying it, but it is true. These are the first bobbleheads ever made for baseball. And it started a tradition that lives on to this day and is probably stronger than ever.
Not like we need it, but you got anything else?
Yeah, we got a couple more.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember these guys. These guys are bobbleheads? I never thought they were bobbleheads.
Yeah, they certainly are. And they're from a whole different group. They don't really fit any specific category other than to be called the Dodger Weirdos. So 60s, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah.
Makes me want to get a Mad magazine or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's that era. It is just great stuff. I only have these two. I wish I had more of them.
How many did they make?
I think they made 5 or 6. These two are, I guess they call it the screwball. And if you look closely, the baseball he's holding has an actual screw coming out of the top.
Well, would you look at that? It's a screwball.
And to make it even better, it's a neck tag that came with that guy.
What?
No wonder I couldn't hit it. He threw me a screwball. How many of those survived? Almost none.
Oh, I'm sure.
But that was originally around his neck. Then if you go to the right, you'll see the Crybaby. These are all super tough to find, especially in decent condition. The Crybaby is maybe the easiest of the 5 or 6 that are out there. There's one called the Bathing Beauty, and he's holding a beautiful woman in a swimsuit. For some reason, I have no idea why they even created that doll, but I think that one's the rarest of all. And then there's another one that kind of bobbles at the hip. I think his name might be Grouchy.
Wonder what he's crying about. Called Third Strike?
Yeah, there was a caption. There was a neck tag that came with him, and I think I've seen it, but I've long forgotten what it said.
Oh, that's so funny. The Dodger Weirdos.
Dodger Weirdos, my favorite set of all time, but impossible to find, especially at an affordable price.
Amazing. Well, Mark, those bobbleheads are just too much. I can't thank you enough for sharing. And you know what? I think my Ichiro might have a place here in the museum, huh? Because what could possibly one-up that?
Well, you could go bigger.
Oh, my God.
You could go a little bigger.
Are you serious?
Now, this guy was only sold in the Mariners team store, and he was in the front window for the Ichiro promotion they had going on. And then after the promotion had expired, probably after the season was over, October.
Oh, yeah, October. That makes sense because the Mariner seasons are always over in October.
They offered up the doll, and I couldn't resist it. It's my biggest bobblehead. He stands about 3 feet tall, and his head does bobble.
Look at that. Absolutely amazing. Well, I think I'll take him home then. Sorry, Ichiro. But say thanks, Mark.
ありがとうマーク。